Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome everyone to the Blacks in Technology BITTechTalk podcast. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee, the founder of Blacks in Technology. And this is a podcast where we talk to Black women and men who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. And we also talk to our allies as well. This is a podcast where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the BIT community. Today, tonight, on our podcast, we have Daigo Fujiwara. He is the founder of Baseball Hack Day. But if this is your first time listening to the Blacks in Technology podcast, you can check us out at blackstechnology.net. We're also on Twitter at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. Also on Facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. LinkedIn and Instagram is also under Blacks in Technology. All right, I want to introduce our guest tonight, Daigo Fujiwara. Daigo is a front-end developer and data journalist for WBUR.org. Before joining WBUR in 2016, he worked for multiple newspapers and magazines such as the Boston Globe, Harvard Business Review, Christian Science Monitor, Fast Company, and Inc. magazine. So I want to welcome Daigo to the show. Daigo, how's it going?
Thank you, Greg. I'm doing great.
Excellent. I'm happy to have you. And like I said, this podcast, we normally talk to Black women and men in tech, but Daigo is definitely an ally. And he's the founder of the Baseball Hack Day, which Blacks in Technology is going to be hosting Baseball Hack Day in a number of cities across the United States. But first, before we get into that and we start talking about Baseball Hack Day, Daigo, give us a little bit more information about, kind of where you're from, where you're educated at, and what your, a little bit about your background and your career.
Sure. Yeah, I'm based in Boston. I'm originally from Japan, but I've lived in United States for the last close to 30 years now, and I'm basically based in Northeast of U.S., like the Boston and Portland, Maine area, and. I've been a tech guy in the design department, and also now I'm sort of designy guy in the tech department.
Excellent. Go Pats, go Patriots, right?
Well, I'm
more of a Patriots fan.
Guy, but yeah.
Okay. I know I'm from Cincinnati, and some people might get on my case about this, but I'm actually a Patriots fan.
Oh, nice.
There's a long story behind that. There was some stuff that happened back in 2003, and I switched my alliances to the Patriots and been a Patriots fan ever since. So it's happy to see them pull another victory, another Super Bowl out this year.
Well, right.
So you say you were actually a front end developer as well, and how'd you get your start in tech?
Well, I was a designer, actually, print designer and a web designer before I was a developer. But I got into the web design is a lot of coding, so I self-taught. I'm actually a communications major. I went to Northeastern University in Boston and studied communications, but I ended up as a developer, and mostly self-taught. It's a lot of front-end stuff, so JavaScript and HTML, CSS, stuff like that.
Excellent. Did you have any influences growing up that kind of, because I find when I talk to a lot of people in tech, they get their education and degree in one field, and then they kind of find their way over into tech. So, kind of how did that transition happen? And did you have any influences along the way?
Well, technology was always, part of what I wanted to do. I mean, it was a tool always. I was, I considered myself I mean, it's a little naive to think about right now, but I consider myself an artist, and I was, the technology was the way to produce that art, though, however, what I was doing. And, that's sort of the way I look at the hackathon is it is a, creative process. You have something that you want to show or present, and technology is the way to do that. And you see what I mean? It's kind of it's a tool to achieve something else that's
exactly
something creative, I think. And
excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so technology is great, and I love the tech, and I do a lot of coding on my day job, but it's really the storytelling or the thing that you're creating is
Right.
Technology is a tool to achieve things like that.
Right, and the cool part about it is that there's a lot of creativity that in the process of tech, even when it comes to problem solving on the engineering side, right? Like it's good to kind of have a creative mind to kind of be able to see problems and work through problems and things like that. So I found along the ways that a lot of people that I come in contact with in tech have this creative side. Me, it was I wouldn't say like I'm a full-fledged artist, but I used to used to draw when I was younger. I did a lot of writing as well. When I got older, I dabbled a lot in music and writing lyrics and things like that. And so I come across people in tech all the time, and they tend to have this like really, they have this analytical side to them, and then they have this, really creative side, and both of those together really produces like great people in tech. So that's excellent.
I agree. I'm a musician myself.
Excellent. Do you play or what?
I'm a bass player.
Nice.
I have like a band, but it's not a serious musician. Obviously, I'm not quitting my day job.
I got you. Yeah. I've been there before. It's funny because there's a gentleman that he used to. I can't remember his exact title. I always give this example. But Jono Bacon he used to do something with Ubuntu, he used to be like a community leader or something like that at Ubuntu, and really smart guy. I met him before at a Linux conference one year, but I happened to look at his Wikipedia page, and this guy's like in a band, like a thrash metal type band and things like that. So it's really fascinating to see like the backgrounds of some people, and it's really cool, I think, to know that people are not just tech, and they have this other side to them. It really allows you to see the other side of people and the technology and then the artistic side. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, Baseball Hack Day.
Yeah.
So, it's coming up next week, next Saturday. Or is that the 9th, March 9th? And we're doing it across several cities. I know here in Cincinnati, San Diego, where else?
Boston, Detroit, Chicago, LA, New York, Seattle, Toronto. In
nice.
10 cities. Yeah, 10 cities. It has grown quite a bit.
Nice. And so what made you decide to start Baseball Hack Day?
Yeah, so we were talking about the creativity and technology. Really, the idea, we started in 2012, and in Boston. Boston was the first city to do it, and we actually spread into Philadelphia, and then it got then we blown up in the Black in Tech, and Elizabeth Cotton from San Diego was a big, person that brought that to the next level, really. But it's happening in 10 cities this year, and MLB and they're sponsoring the prizes, and so it's really exciting. The idea was that to bring in. It's a hack day, so 1 day event. There's hackathons could go weekends or sometimes like week long, but this is 1 day event, so it's very short time. You starts at 9 o'clock, and then judging then by 5. So you gotta produce something in that 8 hours or whatever you have.
Right.
And so it's it's a small. It is a competition, but it's more of a social thing, and sort of bringing in the people who's interested in the same thing, baseball and technology, and then sort of see what you can make in that short amount of time. And it happens once a year, every spring, and it's just a fun event. It's less, it is a competition, but it's less of a winning, but it's more of a creating things. It's a creative process.
Got you. So tell me this. So you're sitting down one day. I'm guessing at your computer or something like that. What was the spark that made you say, you know what, I want to do a hackathon that encompasses baseball? It
was a kind of funny thing where I was involved in a group called the Society of American Baseball Research, SABR, and in Boston chapter, they the SABR metrics and things like that are coming from that, but also Boston chapter was mostly historical, sort of people talking about baseball statistics and like history of and all old players who come and talk to people, that kind of group, and that group, and also a group called Hacks and Hackers. That's mostly a journalism sort of technologists group. We were talking one time, and they're like, "Yeah, we should do a hackathon." And it just kind of came. First year, I was working at the Boston Globe at the time, and one of the data journalist, Matt Carroll, and I started the Baseball Hack Day together, and it's just kind of because Boston is a city huge, with a lot of passion for baseball, so it just kind of hit the right note, and it just it started out small, but it kind of grew over the year, and this is our 7th year this year, so that's
very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. So here's a little baseball and knowledge out that I don't know if a lot of people know, but Cincinnati Reds was actually the first baseball team ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So it's that much more cool to be bringing a baseball hack day here, because this is the city where the first baseball team originated. So that's pretty cool. We were called the Red Stockings back then. Yeah. And then we had some pretty well-known Hall of Famers. Johnny Bench, one of the greatest catchers of all time. Pete Rose, one of the greatest hitters of all time. And then there was the whole Big Red Machine when they won the World Series some up-teen years ago. I can't remember. I was young back then, but yeah, there's baseball is there's a real baseball tradition here in Cincinnati, so they love baseball here.
Yeah.
So tell me this: who can participate in baseball hack day? Because normally when you think of hackathons, you're thinking, oh, this is a lot of just engineers and coders getting together. So tell us, what's the makeup of the participants in baseball hack day?
It really is. I mean, you can. A lot of people. Since this is a 1-day hackathon, there's a more. I think it's easier to come in rather than committing for a whole week or weekend. Hackathon. So I get a lot of first timers, which is great. Because it really is. It's a limited thing. You can just do whatever you can make in 1 day. So it's not like you're not going to be coding something super complicated. You need to have a good, simple idea that can be executed in a short amount of time. So it is a good intro hackathon. And hackathon, I don't know if you, especially I do, coding for day job
Right.
every day, and sometimes it's not all fun. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas hack days, you go there one day and you have nothing to lose, right? It's all create, and you don't have to debug this tomorrow. So like,
Right.
it's a whole different mindset for coding, and I think it's healthy. I mean, I like doing this once a year. I don't. Hackathon is in 2 weeks, and I'm going to create something. I have no idea what I'm creating, and that's kind of fun for me.
Right. Yeah, I definitely understand, especially when you go through the kind of the mundane things of everyday work. I work as a DevOps engineer, so I definitely know about just kind of looking and staring at code all day and hoping something materializes. Like, oh, okay, I'm stuck on this problem. Hopefully this problem will solve itself, but it never does, of course.
And you don't want to be experimenting on your job either. So.
Yeah, exactly. And they're a lot more stringent with what you should be doing and working on and things like that. So if there's a feature that needs to be included or something like that, that's what you need to be working on. And yeah, there can be a creative process to it, but you do have to work within the confines of whatever you're building at the time, what your customer wants at the time. So I definitely understand.
And I think that's why the hackathon and hack days are great, because you can sort of push your envelopes, things that you wouldn't have done, this take more risks, and you have nothing to lose. I mean, if you're trying to do something and if it doesn't work out, it's just, that's just what you did today.
Right.
Or, you don't want to be doing that at your day job, I guess.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So you've got coders, right? So who else would be involved in that? I guess, you need some people to design, maybe?
Yeah, so designers. One of the things that we have 3 criteria for the judging is, one is the sort of creativity, how unique the thing is, has anybody done it, and the second thing is how nice it looks, and the third thing is functionality. So designers are definitely wanted, and we want to make something that's nice to look at by the end of the day. And also ideas, like you don't have to be able to code. You can find somebody, if you have a great idea, something simple. It's always good to start with smaller sample instead of doing somebody's whole life. Do one season and then
right.
do that today. Just one season as player, and then. The weekend you have time, you do the rest of his career, but like do something small, something concentrated and interesting, and something, I think those things do well in one day hackathon format.
Got you. I think I also seen something on the site that mentioned project managers, which I would have never have thought about. Having a project manager in a hackathon. So can you give us a little bit of like kind of what is a project manager doing in like a one day hackathon?
Well, so what's funny is I did have one of my friend who is a project manager attend, and what he did was pretty interesting, because so basically he, like how the daily scrum, you have one day,
exactly,
the meetup, the meeting. He actually started once an hour sort of stand up.
Oh,
and
nice.
So it's 9 to 5. So it's 9 to 4 is your code time. Say 10 to 4, right? So 10, 11, 12. So 6 hours of coding, and you can do a quick sort of where everybody is, what needs to be done, what's blocking you,
right?
Kind of thing. So that so big picture and what needs to be done, and by what time, what should be done, and if you need to pivot.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I would have never thought of kind of having, injecting like the agile methodology in a 1 day hackathon where you're doing like, okay, we're going to do 1 hour sprints now.
Well, we need to present at 4:00, right? It's a hard deadline there.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's run through like what the format of a typical baseball hack day, kind of from like, the start of the day and then going into like, like the coding and what kind of walk us through that.
Sure. Yeah. So you get together at 9:00. So in Boston, we start around 9 and then, but people actually come right at 9, which is great. And, first hour or so is basically networking, trying to figure out, if somebody has an idea, if somebody is looking for somebody, if you need designers, you need coding help, somebody has skills but not ideas.
Right.
So first hour or so, basically what I do is I connect people. Hey, you meet this guy, there's a person looking for a team member over there, that kind of stuff. And then we do go around the room, do an introduction, basically really quick things where, I do an icebreaker where, what's your favorite team? So it's interesting because you get more Yankees fan than you think.
Oh, wow.
And, it's kind of funny to have that. And also like,
that's definitely funny in Boston.
It is, yeah. It's interesting. It's very interesting. You would expect everyone to be Red Sox fans,
right?
No, and they are very vocal. It's good. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of healthy rivalry going on, and and then basically after that, basically before lunch, you want to make sure everybody has project or team that you're working on, and then after lunch, it's all about how to get to the presentation. And I'm usually going around going, you have 2 hours, you have 1 hour, you have half an hour,
Gotcha.
And then everybody's pencils down at 4:00, get together at the presentation room, and we do a presentation, and hours announced. And it's amazing to see what people can come up with in those short time, everybody's working with the same. Some people can't come in with ideas already, and some people have some work already done. But it is interesting to see what people like. Last year, I think the second place winner for Boston, they have never met each other. There's 4 guys got together at the event, and then they produced this AI online, like a sort of game commentator.
Wow.
A chat bot. It was really interesting, and it's just kind of fun to have smart people in one place and just get their imagination go wild and see what happens.
That's very cool. So what ends up happening? And maybe you don't know the answer to this. Are there teams that you've heard of that continue working on whatever they were working on in the hackathon afterwards?
So yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of project that nothing stuck really. Okay. No company has come out of the hackathon just yet. Maybe it will in the future, but
yeah, definitely.
I mean, we definitely made good connections. I know I've known people who got a job through it. So I mean, it is a good,
nice.
Good connection making event as well as just fun and fun things. But yeah, I mean, it's well, let's see. I mean, it is a 1-day hackathon. It's not,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Nothing major have come out, but I have, there are guys who's been to one of the Montreal hackathon has. I think they're working now in some major league team. So
nice.
things are happening.
Right. And that's kind of what what this whole thing is about. It's about building, it's about creating, but it's also about networking and establishing relationships and things like that. And then hopefully, something comes out of it. Maybe there's lifelong friendships that come out of it. But maybe out of this, maybe somebody can start a company from something that they produce. And that would be very, very cool, an ideal situation.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you have your coders, you have your PMs, you have your designers. Tell us kind of like what tools are available for some of the teams like participating in hackathons. Do they have access to APIs? Like, how are they getting data? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. We have actually many sponsors who's been helping us through the years. One of those partners is Sportradar, and they give us an API access, so you actually get a free access to the live data from their game feed, and there's a spring training time, so you could play with that. You can there's also, as you can imagine, baseball has a rich data from so. People get stuff out of retro sheets and baseballreference.com, fangraphs.com. There's a lot of statistics and data that's already available, historical and live data, and so it's there's a lot of we have a wiki page on GitHub repo, and that has people have put in their repos and data from all sorts of stuff, like JSON, how to grab a JSON out of MLB.com and stuff like that is all available on there. Yeah, it is it's a very data heavy sport. So that's one of the fun part of this hackathon.
Very, very cool. And so, is it? I don't know if I read this correctly, but is there like a kind of like a whoever wins the individual hackathons in each one of the cities, are they competing, so to speak, for like maybe it's some type of grand prize? Or did I read that correctly?
So MLB.com is providing full subscription to MLB TV Premium.
Nice.
That's the ground prize. But each city has a sponsors, and then different cities have different prizes. But Baseball Hack Day is completely volunteer driven, and everything that we raise, we have sponsors that give us money and prizes. Everything goes back to the participants, and we don't charge anybody to participate. So that's kind of our thing. It's a sort of volunteer-driven, non-profit event that happens every year, and that's so it's kind of a grassroots open source movement. And
very nice.
Wow. So each city have different prizes. We Boston actually Boston Red Sox sent us a picture of autograph of Mookie Betts. So the winner of Boston's going to win those. Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. And so, how can others participate in hosting Baseball Hack Day? If they say, hey, I'd like my city to host one in my city, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah. So baseballhackday.com has sort of all that tool available. Everything that I do, I try to document it and then put it up on Google Doc or something that anybody can see. So you can create that on your own, in your city, and we basically have a simple things to follow, such as a code of conduct, and basically we're not doing this for profit. So that's really the only rule that we have, and Anybody can participate, and anybody who's who feels right about this spirit, then you are part of it.
Excellent. And so, I definitely want to give a shout out to Elizabeth Cotton. She's, in case anyone doesn't, they don't know who Elizabeth Cotton is. She is our Director of Strategic Partnerships for Blacks in Technology. And she also, introduced Baseball Hack Day to me, and is really instrumental in getting it, having it become a staple event for Blacks in Technology in several of our chapters across the United States. So definitely want to send a shout out and a huge thank you to Elizabeth. Daigo, I definitely want to say thank you for putting this thing together and founding Baseball Hack Day. I'm very excited as to, this will be my first one hosting. And, it seems like it's going to be, I actually have my company, the company I work for, sponsoring and hosting this event next Saturday. Insight is the company. And then we have some wonderful sponsors such as Sparkbox, who else? Hillman Accelerator. I think we have some other partners like Nesby is a partner, Girls in Tech is a partner as well. So definitely want to send a shout out to all those the partners and the sponsors and everyone who's going to participate. And Daigo, once again, I want to say thank you for putting this together. And is there any last words before we get out of here?
I think be creative and create something.
All right. Thanks a lot, Daigo.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Take care.
Take care.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.